Astra! Is anyone listening? It's Selene. I've crashed on Atropos. Suit status operational, but my sidearm is missing. Heading towards White Shadow Broadcast.
Has anyone noticed how 2021 had a massive amount of games where looping was a central focus? 12 Minutes, The Forgotten City, Loop Hero, Death Loop, and the subject of today's review, Returnal. With so many options to that premise, what makes Returnal stand out as a Game of the Year nominee? And does it deliver on its premise to give us a satisfying experience? Let's find out. You play as Selene, who crash lands on the planet of Atropos. After exploring the world for a little while, she begins to find the bodies of herself all over the place. Eventually, you will die due to some reason or another, which is when she discovers that she is essentially stuck in a time loop, one that places her back at the moment of her crash. How she will get out of her situation and why she's even in it is up to you to discover. The setup is very fascinating, and I do like the twists and turns that the story takes. And a big part of why I liked it so much is because of the performance behind Selene, played here by Jane Perry. She's very believable, and you're very sympathetic towards her and want to see her get out of the situation and why she's even in it. Where that story ultimately leads is fine. I don't necessarily hate the endings, I just don't like how similar each one is to the other. That being said, the combat is the bread and butter here. It's fast-paced, chaotic, and requires quick reflexes and patience. It's not forgiving with its difficulty, so if you don't have the time to learn the intricacies of its combat, you're gonna have a tougher time with it. Though enjoyment, I think, is guaranteed regardless of how you approach it. I love the weapons and the settings that you come across, as well as how each playthrough is completely different from the previous one. The game is procedurally generated, which means that every single time you die and have to start over, the layout completely changes. And this essentially means that every time you go through it, you may encounter different types of enemies and items, and it kept everything feeling very fresh. For a while. I do think the game sticks around a bit longer than necessary. The final area in particular is a giant pain in the neck, and I found myself rushing to get to the end boss after each death just to finish the game. Instead of everything coming together in the last part, it felt like they just decided to throw everything they had at you without thought and call it a day, which is kind of disappointing. Now, what I don't think is disappointing are the enemy designs, especially that of the bosses. They're very alien-like, and the way they move and attack is very interesting to witness, and keeps you on your toes. Now, I'm also going to talk about something that was hotly debated when the game first came out as well. Its non-save function. Now, when the game released, people did not like that the game did not have some sort of save functionality. The argument here is that for those who do not have the time to play for hours, which runs could very well take, they were basically screwed, as the game would place you back at the starting point if turned off. The dude bros of the gaming community basically responded with the whole get good mentality, and that the system could be left on suspend mode, which didn't help if the system had to be shared with other family members. Since then, the game has been given a suspend feature, which lets you exit out one time during a run through and jump right back in when you start up the game again. While it doesn't necessarily fix everything, if you have a limited amount of time to play, take note of that. My ultimate score for Returnal is a 4 out of 5, with a recommendation to play it. While very stressful at points, it's also a ton of fun. If you're into these types of games, I definitely say give it a shot, especially if you have that PS5. And that's my final review. Not a bad one to go out with. Actually, all these games have been very fascinating. None of them have really disappointed. So I think we got a really good lineup going on right here. And it's not over yet, guys. I've got my predictions tomorrow, so make sure you return for that video. Until then, stay safe out there and have a good one.